What's up, everybody? These are the video instructions following my Night Scout guide. So in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to set up an instance of Night Scout on an Ubuntu 20.04 machine. Right, so I'm over here on my RAM node panel, which is my host for VPSs, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new instance. We're going to call it Night Scout. I'm going to make this 3 gigabytes of RAM, and we're gonna host it in New York City, as that's the closest location to me. So boot source, we're gonna choose Ubuntu 20.04, and this guy will work for anything, or rather any host. So like, you don't have to use RAM node, you could use something like OVH or Voter or DigitalOcean. It doesn't really matter, but I'm gonna go ahead and create a root password, and we're gonna create instance. Alright, so I will skip, or rather, let's grab the IP address for my new instance as soon as it comes up right here. Boom, and we're gonna create an A record for my domain. So let's go here, go to DNS settings, and I already have A record set up for what I want to call it, but we're just gonna adjust them to use my VPS's IP. So nightscout.mydomain and ns.mydomain, save. Okay, so let's see, this is still spawning in, but we'll say leave that copied. Okay, it's running now. But alright, next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and access our server. So your host should have provided details for accessing your server via SSH. On Windows, you can use the PuTTY SSH client to access your server, or rather on a Unix-like OS, like Mac OS or Linux, you can use the SSH client built into your terminal, which is what we're going to be doing since I am on Mac OS. What's up, everybody? So while I was editing, I figured I couldn't leave any Windows users in the dark, because I figure the majority of the people who are going to be watching this tutorial would be on Windows. So I'm going to show you guys how to connect to your server from Windows. So it says you can use the PuTTY SSH client to access the server. Ignore that. Right, so we'll just open this page up, and you guys can see download at the top of the page. We'll go to stable. We'll scroll down to alternative binary files, and we're gonna download putty.exe. So say 64-bit x86, 64-bit ARM, 32-bit x86. If you don't know what your system is, I recommend you Google something like how to determine if your system is 64-bit or 32-bit, but I'm pretty sure it's just something simple in the control panel that tells you. But yeah, so let's click on this one, 64-bit x86, and you know, it'll download. You can open it. Let's see. And it's gonna ask you to paste in an IP address, so we'll copy over my machine's IP. Okay, and then we click open. Right, it's gonna say login as, and usually it's gonna prompt you, you know, with this like little box. It's gonna prompt you with this box saying whether, you know, the authenticity is valid. Just click accept or yes, whatever it says, I don't know. But you could go ahead and specify the user right here, and you can enter in the password, and you know, you'll be in. So yeah, that's just real quick how to get it, or how to get connect to your server via Windows. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this quick little button. Let's get back to the tutorial. So we'll open up this terminal, and let's see, we'll do SSH root at, and we'll paste the IP. It's acting weird with spaces, that's okay. And boom. So you might get a prompt about the authenticity of the server. We're just gonna go ahead and hit and type in yes, and we'll enter the password. Okay, cool. Now once you're in, you'll probably get this Ubuntu message of the day, and you'll get our shell prompt, which is the prompt we're going to be using for the rest of the video. So let's go ahead and start off with some simple things, and we'll do apt update -y. So currently we're just updating your server to the latest packages. And the next thing we're going to be doing after this is setting up a separate user account for your system to use on a day-to-day basis. So once that command's finished, we could do apt dis-upgrade -y, and it's going to run. Okay, so while this runs, let's go ahead and look over the guide. So this is the step we're on right now, updating your server to the latest packages. And the next things we're going to be doing is setting up a separate user account on your system for day-to-day use. And we're going to disable the root account and enable escalation via sudo. So we already did these two commands, and we're just waiting on the task to finish. Alright, so once that's all done, we're gonna add a new user. So it's gonna be add user, and then you type in the name of the username you want. So we'll leave it simple. We're gonna do user, and it's gonna ask for your password. So we'll input a password, we'll type it in one more time, and for the rest of these fields, you could keep hitting enter until you get, is this information correct? You type in yes. Next thing we're going to be doing, we're going to add this user to the administrative user list. So let's see here. So it's just usermod -a-g sudo and name of the user. So it's going to be user, right? And now we can exit our SSH session and we're going to log in with the new user. So let's go ahead and exit, right? We could just run the same command, but replace root with the name of the user that you just created. And we're gonna give it the password. And once we're in, we're going to run sudo apt update, just confirm that we have administrative privileges. And if you don't, go ahead and just check your work a few steps, but that should be good to go. So the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna disable the root account, and let's see, we're gonna disable the root account and we're gonna edit the SSH configuration so that the root user can't log in. So let's go ahead and run this command, sudo password -dl root, okay? And then we're gonna do sudo nano /etc/ssh/ssh dconfig. Okay, we're gonna use our nano editor. We're gonna do Control W, and let's see, it's gonna let us search for a field. So let's search for permit root login. All the way over here, we see it says yes. We're gonna change that to no. And we're gonna save the file. And then we're gonna restart SSH. Sudo service SSH restart. Okay, so let's see, another good piece of advice is to set up public key authentication for proper security, but that's outside the scope of this tutorial. See this guide for more information on creating and using public keys. Do you not like the Ubuntu message of the day? You can disable that with touch.hush login. So you see the spammy like message of the day you get whenever you log into your server. If you don't like that, you could just run this command and it won't bother you no more. Alright, next thing we want to do is we're going to install MongoDB. So the latest stable release of Mongo is 6.0, and in order to install this version, we have to add their package repository to our system. So I gave you a command to install a package. It's usually installed by default, but you can run a command just in case. Alright, so then we can copy this one to add the key to our system, and then we copy this one. This one is a bit longer, so make sure you get all of it. Right, so once you do that, you can go ahead and run sudo apt update. And once you update it, we could go ahead and install MongoDB. So, as you guys can see, This guide says sometimes the permissions can break. Run systemctl status MongoDB service, and if it says failed, you guys can run these 3 commands to fix up the permissions. So let's check in. Let's see, it says stopped, or yeah, it says inactive. So let's do this. We're gonna do sudo systemctl enable, and we're going to do start. Okay, now let's run that command again, and it says active, so everything went smoothly, so we don't really have to do any of these commands. So next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna secure MongoDB because it's unsecure by default, and we're just gonna harden it a little bit by adding an administrative user and enabling authentication. First, let's access a Mongo shell by running mongo sh. So let's go ahead and do that, and let's see. Yep, all right, we're prompted in to the Mongo shell, and as you guys can see, if I just run like a command like this, it's going to tell us all the data we want to know without authentication, so that's not good. So let's switch over to the admin database with use admin. So I'll give you guys this command, and it has password, admin password here. We're gonna switch that over to password prompt for the sake of this tutorial because I don't want you guys to see my password, but boom. And let's see, db create user, admin user here, password prompt, and the rows is gonna be user, admin, any database, and it's going to have permission to read and write to any database. So let's make the password admin, and it's gonna prompt us for the password. So we'll type in a password. Oh, right. We have to actually switch over to the admin database, my mistake. So we'll do use admin, and then we'll run that command again. Okay, it won't let us go up to it, so copy it. Boom. Okay, so it should return okay. So make sure you run this command first, use admin. You gotta switch over to the admin DB. Alright, so let's see. Now we could do exit, and we'll edit the Mongo config. So sudo nano etc, let's see, what is it? mongod.conf. Okay, now we'll do what we did in the SSH file earlier. We'll do Control W, and we're gonna look for the security field. So boom, it's right here. As you guys can see, it's commented out with a hashtag. So we'll remove that, and we'll go down one. We'll press space twice, and we're gonna type in authorization enabled, right? So then you just save the file, and then we can restart Mongo. Alright, so let's see. Let's try to access the Mongo shell without anything now, without any kind of authentication, and we'll do show DBs, and it says commandless databases require authentication, so that's good. So now nobody could just willy-nilly just like access our stuff. So we're gonna have to create a Nightscout user now. So we're gonna go ahead and drop back into the Mongo shell, but this time we're gonna authenticate. So mongo sh-u, and we're gonna enter the name of the admin user that you just created. We'll do -p, and then we'll do 2 dashes authentication database, and it's gonna be admin. So it's gonna ask you for your password, enter it. Will be dropped into the Mongo shell. Let's see, show DBs, and as you can see, we have a working admin user. Let's switch over to a new DB, and this is going to be the one that that Nightscout uses. So we'll do use Nightscout, and then we're going to create a user for Nightscout. So boom, let's switch over to the guide again, and it's going to give you a command. So here in this, it says db create user. We're gonna make the username Nightscout, and the password, we'll switch that over to password prompt again for the sake of this tutorial. and the rows is gonna be read write to the Night Scout DB. So if you use a name for your DB other than Night Scout, you're gonna want to switch this. Oh, whoops, what did I just do? Okay, here we go. So boom, paste in that command, DB create user Night Scout password prompt. Rows is to read and write to the Night Scout database. So boom, it's gonna ask us for a password, enter the password, okay. And now we're gonna create a collection. I'm gonna call this collection entries. All right, we can exit this Mongo shell once again and move on to setting up Night Scout. So we're gonna go ahead and install these dependencies. So Node.js, npm, and git, but git is probably usually installed. Boom. At this time, if you've never used Night Scout before, I would recommend you, as this is installed in the background, you guys take a look at stuff like plugins, because everybody's system is going to be, or everybody's setup going to be different. For example, you might want, let's say you might want pump monitoring, and I don't want this, so you're gonna have to, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so this should be done by now. Yeah, it is. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and clone the repository to our system. So boom, and then we're gonna cd cgm remote monitor. We're gonna run npm install. Now this can take up to like 10 minutes on some machines, so don't be patient if it looks stuck, because it's not. It's just a very large program, and you know you gotta give it its time to install. So yeah, I'll probably just I don't know, speed up this part. Alright, so I figured out if you get this error up here, something like this, you could just run the npm install command again, and you should be fine. Right. So once we do all that, we can now set up our configuration file. So let's run nano my.env. Okay, we're gonna copy everything from here because this is like a bare bones configuration. Everything is required besides the enable really, but you know, this is just to show you how you can enable your own plugins. So display units. So in order to follow this, you guys could just look right here, but here we're just gonna go to the official documentation, as you guys are gonna need to tie this in just to figure out, you know, what else you need to do for your Night Scout configuration. So boom, let's see the connection string for your Mongo database, something like boom 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 boom. So we'll paste that right here, and it's going to be, let's see, MongoDB. So we'll do Night Scout, and I'm going to fill this password in off the cam because I don't really want to show you guys my Night Scout password. Okay, so the port is going to be 27017, and we'll replace this entire string with 127.0.0.1, meaning the local host / Night Scout. Now again, if you made the database name something different, you're gonna replace this. Okay, so the base URL, let's see, we'll save this for now. Boom, we'll do curl -for icanhas.ip.com, and it's just to get the IP of your machine. If you already know it, you can skip this and just paste it right here. Base URL is going to be that, and it's going to be a semicolon or the 2 periods, I don't know what you call that, and it's going to be the port that you want Night Scout to run on. So by default it likes to run on port 1337, so we're going to keep that. Okay, and API secret, it's going to be something you can use in Night Scout just to authenticate you as the admin user. And if you have a plugin like Care Portal, you're going to need to authenticate your API secret in order to enter data and stuff like that. So make that something super secret and something you'll remember. Alright, so we'll do super cool 123 for now. So MongoDB collection, it's going to be entries, or if you made the name something else when I told you to make it entries, then you'll just replace that. The display units, so as you guys can see, you got two options right here, mg/dl or mmol/l. We'll use mg/dl. That's what I'm most familiar with. And let's see, enable. This is going to be where you want to enable optional features such as Care Portal. You know, just like you just go to the list of plugins and you figure out what you want to enable here. So I included Care Portal and Insulin on Board plugin just to show you guys how to like enable multiple, because you're going to need to append %20 that resembles a space and then the name of the plugin you want to enable. So what Care Portal does, let's see, let's search it up. It's an optional form to enter treatments, and what Insulin on Board does, it adds the pill visualization in the client and calculates values that's used by other plugins, and it kind of hooks into Care Portal. Alright, so again, this is a very bare bones configuration to get NightScout up and running. In order to see a list of the values you can provide, look at the README, which is what we just did. Alright, so let's save this file. And I'm gonna go in and put in my password real quick, and I'll be back with you guys. Alright, we're back, and we're gonna create a start script for NightScout. So we'll copy this command. We'll do nano start.sh, paste it in, and we'll save that file. We'll make it executable with chmod +x start.sh. And now we're gonna start up a screen session. So boom, we'll type in screen, press enter, and we'll do ./start.sh. What's up? It's Rilo back from the future again. So I was editing a video and I kind of want to explain why screen was important. Screen is like a multiplexer like Tmux, kind of. So if you like set up NightScout, right, and you didn't use screen and you just started it, then you decided to like close down your shell session, it's going to stop. And to avoid this, we use a screen session, because when you close down your real shell session, that is still going to be running. So basically NightScout will be running 24/7 without you having to, you know, keep the shell session open at all times. So in order to detach from the screen, we have to do, right, so it's probably different on Mac. Or no, it's Control A and then D. So Control A and D, and as you guys can see, you detach from the screen session, right? So you're back in your normal shell, but you can reattach by doing screen X -X, and you could detach by doing Control A and D again. Okay, so here, let's run that curl for IconHasIP. And as you guys know, we got NightScout running right now. So boom. So let's go ahead and access it. So let's see, 107.191.98.130 1337. Let's see, SSL ever. Okay, right. So there's a field that you want to add in order to. Yeah, okay. It's written. If you receive some issue about SSL in your browser, adjust your configuration and add and secure use HTTP. True. Okay. So you just go back into your configuration file, you add that, and then you can restart NightScout by doing screen X, then you do Control C, and then you do run the start.sh command again. But I'm not gonna do all that because I'm gonna set up a reverse proxy right now. Okay, so let's clear that. We're gonna leave that screen session for later. So Control A D. If you don't plan on setting up a reverse proxy, if you don't plan on setting up a reverse proxy with Nginx, then go ahead and add that field, and then you can access your NightScout from your IP and the port. But you know. So we're gonna go ahead and do that real quick. So let's go ahead and install Nginx with this command, sudo apt install nginx -y, and we're gonna set up a server block. So we're gonna copy this command and we'll paste it, boom, and we're just gonna copy all this, right? So there's something you need to replace here. So listen, if you changed up the port Night Scout is running on, you're gonna want to replace it right here, but I'm gonna keep it as 1337 because that's what I specified. And then server name, so it's example.com, but you're gonna want to change it to the domain that you set up an A record pointing to the server for, right? So I had nightscout.killjoy.org and I had ns.killjoy.org. Okay, so boom, we'll save that, and then we're gonna symlink this to what's enabled, or you know, the list of server blocks that are enabled. So sudo ln-s, boom, we'll put in the name of our server block file, and we're going to put that into sites enabled. Okay, so check if our configuration is proper, sudo nginx t. Everything should say okay and the test is successful. Now we're gonna go ahead and restart Nginx. Okay. Now we have to set up SSL, so we can secure the server with an SSL cert. So we'll go ahead and install certbot. It's going to handle all that for us. We'll copy this command, certbot nginx -d example.com. We'll change this to ns.killjoy.org or whatever domain you have. And since I had 2 A records set up, we'll do -d again. We'll do nightscout.killjoy.org. So it's gonna ask you for your email address, and this is just because they expire every certain amount of days, and you guys can get an alert to your email if you guys can get an alert to your email when it's gonna expire, so you can renew it. So please read the terms of service. We'll hit A, agree. Would you be willing to share your email address to send work about, you know, we'll just hit no. And it's gonna give some tests to the domains, make sure that it's actually pointed towards the server and whatnot. So when you're asked this, you're just gonna hit 2. Boom. And congratulations, your certificate and chain have been saved. That boom, boom. So all this is just saying it's all successfully set up. We'll go back into the screen session, and we're gonna go ahead and start up Night Scout. So listening to port 1337. Alright, so now let's visit the domain. And boom, we got Night Scout set up. Awesome. Redirecting you to the profile editor to create a new profile. So, you know, you would just follow through with all this and do what you gotta do just to set up Night Scout and whatnot. So but yeah, boom. I didn't really have an outro recorded or anything, but yeah, that's just a tutorial on how to set up Night Scout. We got some basic server security covered. We got setting up the Let's Encrypt covered. We got MongoDB installed, secured, you know, all that. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If y'all need to see something else, just let me know. I'm always down. Yeah, hope y'all have a good day.